The novel, Take Me Back to Cairo, written by two Kingstonians, is a roller coaster of a love story about fitting in and surviving cultural differences filled with deception, scheming families, and the unbreakable bond of affection. Joining me to tell us more about their book is co-author Pamela Paterson and Tarek Hussein. I wanted to welcome you to the show and really talk about this book. It's very interesting. In fact, the description of the book is intriguing. There's a love story. There are two characters who do fall in love, but there's cultural differences. And then there's a scheming family behind it all. So it makes for an intriguing book, I think, to pick up. Can you tell me, Tarek, a little bit about what the book is about?
Well, thanks for having us, and we're happy to be here. The book, as you just mentioned, it's an intercultural love story between two characters, and there is a lot of hidden parts for each character about the other character. They keep discovering along the storyline. So that's how it becomes interesting, and also it was a fascinating or interesting idea to show the difference in cultures between what we have in Canada and the Middle East culture throughout the book.
So let's talk about the cultural differences. So in Canada, I know that we are caring people and friendly. What else?
I think that we're tolerant and accepting and open-minded and maybe very casual, I think, is probably a good way to, very community-minded, very peace, order, and good government.
And in the Egyptian culture?
Well, I think I see that humans share the basic principles, but they express them in a different way. So I think in the culture, for example, in Egypt, there is the warmth, but the warmth show up in different way. For example, in food. And this is something that is a theme in the book. Like you will see that the food is very important, and the mother, for example, is always caring about her kids, and the care comes through making sure that they are fed and sometimes overfed, and all the stuff that she only can make and that tastes the best, that nobody else can make it like her, for example. And you'll see that through the story, and I think it is the difference in showing the same principles but in a different way.
Let's describe the two main characters in the book, and I want to ask you first, did you both contribute to the characters, the development of the characters, or did you, Pamela, decide to look at the female character and go from that perspective?
So from my perspective, because when you co-write a novel, you have different perspectives and they eventually blend together into one book. From my perspective, the characters do bear some similarity to the authors. I ride a motorcycle, for example. I'll be the yoga pant wearing Janelle, who's free-spirited and traveling and things like that. And I see definitely in Yousef, I see in Tarek, which is a very dignified Egyptian man, a pharmacist, new to Canada. So I definitely see some similarities.
Yeah, there is a very famous advice when you write, is write about what you know. So I think that in our first book, fiction book, we definitely followed that advice, and we wrote about the stories, the cultures, the cities, and the characters that we know. So it makes it easier at the beginning. Like a pharmacist, so I'm a pharmacist by trade, by profession, so I understand the environment, the culture of pharmacy here and in Egypt, for example, and you can see the differences, and it is illustrated in the book in a couple of scenes.
So how difficult was it for you to co-author a book, and also why this book?
Well, we're still married. That's sort of our baseline. And about this book, it was a really interesting process, and I think that we discovered a lot about each other, actually. And there's many, many parts of Egyptian culture that I didn't know about. and maybe, I'm not sure what it was like for you, but just anything, how the misunderstandings, the colloquialisms that Canadians would say, you know, in the restaurant, the food is coming right up. Well, for somebody who's new to Canada, coming right and up is a very nonsensical phrase together. So it was interesting, and when we delved into the language a little bit more, and the culture, and I mean, there was one scene in the book where we talk about there was a prescription that came in for the pharmacy from a man named Doug, but this Doug name is never found in Egyptian culture, and so the pharmacist thought it was dog. And so was amazed that this dog could be living so old into his 70s or 80s. And so there's lots of funny parts in there that actually do bear some semblance to reality that both of us went through.
So there is humor in this book.
Lots of humor.
Lots of humor. Tell me a little bit more about how Yousef and Janelle met.
They met because Janelle almost hit him with her motorcycle. That's how they met. And then they met later again, a few minutes later at Panchancho. And Panchancho, of course, is a very popular restaurant here in Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we actually met.
Let's go back a little bit more about the scheming family that's involved. And does that come from the surviving, the difference in culture? The character appears to be totally different, the way it's described, the way she's described in the book, than perhaps Yousef is the family thinks Yousef should be looking for.
Yeah, so it's again how families react based on the culture. Like in Canada, I see sometimes that people they leave the family early, they go on their own. In the Middle East, especially in Egypt, there is a huge connection, a huge bond, and the families think that they know better for their kids. They know better in education, they know better in marriage, they know better in life, where to live, what to do in your life, how to buy this, how to buy that. So for the family, seeing Yousef leaving with an excuse, he had something that happened that he took as an excuse and left Egypt and went to Canada. That is, he's going out of that kind of a range that it's comfortable for the family. So he's not under their eyes, in other words, and that is driving them a little bit crazy, and they want to make sure that they get that control back. And in all good causes in their mind, like they think that they know better, so they want to make sure that they have him under their eyes to make sure that he's doing the right things. So I think that's where it's coming from.
Where can folks find your book?
Pretty much everywhere. I mean, we advocate that people go to the local bookstore, and they can even order it in for you if they don't have it in stock. But you can also find it on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. A lot of different bookstores have it.
Thank you very much again. Good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
You're welcome.